Today I'll be working on a 2014 Chevrolet Express G3500. This does have the 6.6 liter Duramax diesel in it. The truth. Now I just got a check engine light, so I'm gonna go ahead and check it. And I come down here to my scan tool. Show me this P0672. It's for a glow plug on cylinder number 2. So that's what we're going to be replacing. Now I'm starting at the front of the motor where the radiator and everything's at. You can have cylinders 1, 3, 5, 7 on the driver's side. And on the passenger side you can have 2, 4, 6, and 8 going down. So lower numbers up front, higher numbers in the back. This is the part number for the glow plug we're going to be installing. Ensure your engine bay is cooled off enough for you to work on it. We're going to be working down near the exhaust manifold, and you really hate to get burned by that thing if it's not cooled off. Now, if you're working on one of the back glow plugs, you're going to have to remove this. There are 4 latches. You got one right here. It's going to pop off. Just going to move out of the way. One on the passenger side, hooked the same way. Then you're going to have 2 underneath here. I don't know how well we'll be able to see them. They hook into these little white tabs right here. There's one on that side as well, but you'll have to unhook these as well. Once you have all 4 of those unhooked, just gonna kind of finesse this guy out. And then you'll have access to the engine bay. I'll show you in just a second. Now before you get this tonneau cover all the way out, you're gonna have to remove the passenger seat. Going to be 4 bolts, or excuse me, 4 nuts on these bolts. There's 1, 2, and then same on the other side of this seat. You have to totally remove the seat, and then you can access that to get all the way back. But as you can see, you can get in here. As you can see, there's the glow plugs for cylinder 4, 6, and 8. But we need to get to number 2, which is kind of hard to see, but it's all the way up there. Now if you go ahead and turn your wheel to the left and take off these little clips, get up underneath here, you can access glow plug number 2, no, take that back, glow plug number 4 and number 6. You can get to them pretty easily. With number 2, gotta get right underneath this flap right here, so I'm gonna have to turn the wheel the other way. And what I'll be doing is I'll probably take off these front clips for the flap so I can access glow plug number 2, which is like right underneath here. I'll show you in just a second. So you're just going to use one of your body panel removal tools. You can get these at any of your auto parts store. I've used these a million times. They're very awesome and very handy to have. So if you don't have any, suggest getting some. Now that I got the vehicle's wheel turned to the right, I took off a little guard right here, and we can now access, where's it at? If I get the camera back here, there it is, glow plug number 2. It's a little bit hard to see on the camera, obviously, but that's number 2 right there. Right up front, right in front of the wishbone suspension. Feel pretty much straight up, it's right there. And to get the nut off the back where the wire is being held on with, it's an 8mm. I found out if you use like I think it's about an inch extension, maybe 1.5 inch extension, plus my deep weld socket, it'll get right on there, and it's just enough room to spin it free. Now once you get the nut and the wire off of that glow plug, next we're going to be taking out the glow plug itself. We'll be using, oh my gosh, it's so bright, a 12mm socket to do so. It will have to be a deep weld socket. A shallow one will not reach down far enough to be able to break it free. Now, it's a little difficult to see, but I moved a couple of these lines out of the way. You can see right back there, that's where our glow plug's at. This is the best way I found to get to it. To start ratcheting it out to get it out of there. I did have to use a 6-inch extension plus a 3-inch. And I put my ratchet on the end. Here's the old one I pulled out. And we're going to be replacing it with the new guy in the box here. With a real quick side-by-side, you can see that the old one's been in there for quite some time. Looks pretty nasty compared to the new one. You can even see the discoloration up near the tips where it gets hot too. Now we're going to go ahead and take the new one. We're going to gently maneuver it into the hole where the old one is at. And then we're going to come back in with a socket and tighten it up. Before we do, I'm going to put some blue Loctite on these threads just to kind of help it make sure it stays in there once it's in. Now you don't have to get a whole lot of Loctite on there, but just enough so when you start threading it in, it works its way all the way around on the threads. Now the same angle we took it out, we're going to be putting it back in the same way. Try and do it by hand as much as I can, then I'm going to get my ratchet on it and tighten it up. Now that the new glow plug is tightened up, we're going to take our wire, we're going to run it back around the way it was, and stick it on the end of that glow plug. Now that you got the wire and the nut in place, we're just going to secure that with our ratchet. Remember, it's an 8mm. And then after those are secured, we're going to go ahead and start putting this flap back on here. The only thing I suggest when you're tightening up that nut down underneath here for the wire, just hold onto the wire with the other hand. So I did it first time, the wire bumped right against the manifold here. I'd be worried that it's going to get too hot and like melt. If it'll focus. So now it's gonna run off to the side where it's not really touching anything. It's kind of just tucked up this way. Just kind of dangling. Alright, once you got this up and all your little body panel pins back into place, we're going to reset the code. Now if you had to remove your tonneau cover, remember to push it all the way back in and latch these little hasps, one on each side and the two underneath. Now the check engine light is still on, but we're going to go ahead and clear it here in just a second. It's going to rescan the system. It'll probably still show the old code still in there. Yep. But what we're going to do, oh, I went past it. It's going to erase the codes. And then we'll drive it around the block a few times and we'll rescan it and see if the code pops back up. Usually takes a couple miles. Been driving it around a few miles. Still no check engine light, so it worked. Well, I hope this video helps. And from my experience today, this number 2 glow plug is probably the worst one to get to. All the rest of them seem pretty easy. Even on the driver's side, there's a lot more room to work with than there was on the passenger side. So hopefully, if you have to replace any of these, it's not number 2. Or if you're doing all of them, maybe save number 2 for last.